Κυρίες και κύριοι,
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you in the conference, this press conference that is given by the people working for free ERT in the framework of the visit here in the European Parliament in Brussels. They came here for the first time. My name is Kostas Zavanis, I'm a journalist, and I represent the journalists from Western Macedonia, and I'm employer in ERA of Kozani, the local radio station. Before knowing you, before telling you who are the members of the panel to whom you may place questions, at the center we have the MEP of SYRIZA, Mrs. Sofia Sakorafa. Next to her right, is Mrs. Eleftheria Farandaki, working in Free Earth 3 and a member of the Administrative Council of Pospert. To my right is Gabriel Kasimaitis, Secretary General of Pospert, and he's member of the Administrative Board of Unimail. I would like to say that the presence of the members of representatives of journalists and technicians of ERT in the European Parliament tries to send the message that no government, no legal deviation are in a position to dominate the will of people that has been tormented for information, culture and democracy. It's a people who went through a lot, and through the wrong decisions of the government, it has to go through memorandums of understanding. It has been exhausted. It has been lives in poverty and is expecting the return of democracy. We are working really in regional, local, and ERT that covers the whole of Greece. We don't agree with the blackout imposed by the government to democracy, to information, and the freedom of tormented people. We call all our colleagues, journalists, and employees in the whole of Europe to be alert and to be prepared for action. The closing of ERT was the first hit against the information of the citizens of the world, in where the democracy was born. And the fire that was lit here very soon could be spread as a wildfire in the whole of Europe. So we could go now to the section where our speakers will take the floor. But before advancing to that point, we are going to have two journalistic deviations, let's say. The first one is I would like to tell you that we are very touched. It's an emotional feeling for us, and the persons who were present in the meeting of the committee that we followed, of GUE Energy, we were touched listening to Gabi Zimmer, who is the chairperson of the group, to saying that up to yesterday she knew very well the whole point of ERT, that from today this whole point got a face and a voice. Now let's go to the second deviation. We're going to view a video concerning ERT, and then I will give the floor to our speakers, and you can place questions. You can ask them questions.
ERT started its journey in 1938. It's never been silent since, neither during the Nazi occupation nor during the Greek junta. It was broadcasted all around the world via satellite for the Greek diaspora. In 2013, ERT consisted of 3 TV channels, 28 radio stations and 3 music ensembles.
Η κυβέρνηση αποφάσισε να κλείσει την ΕΡΤ. Και αυτό τελειώνει σήμερα.
The Greek people massively protest against it. Tens of thousands of citizens and ERT employees alike decide to keep ERT on air. It is a moment of a big decision.
On ne pouvait pas et nous ne pouvons pas tolérer qu'une radio, une télévision publique en Europe s'arrête.
International media offers support.
Καλησπέρα σας, bonsoir à tous. Ce soir...
Σήμερα εκτάκτως θα μπορέσετε να παρακολουθήσετε το απόψινό δελτίο ειδήσεων της Άρτες απευθείας μετάδοση και μεταγλώτηση στα ελληνικά.
Que le vienen pidiendo a Grecia también el despido de 2.000 empleados públicos.
Europe is in mourning. We get self-organized. Self-governed ERT begins its life with the support of the Greek people. We discuss. Direct democracy is the way to reach decisions. Greek citizens side up with volunteer employees. Culture is our only weapon in this fight. For the freedom of information. For democracy. For our life and our dignity. The ERT was never shut down. The Greek government's last resort, violence. A padlock, a blow to information, to entertainment, to culture. A blow to democracy. We continue. The first news bulletin, broadcasted outside the ERT premises, has 1 million viewers.
Είμαστε όλοι εδώ. Είναι το βραδινό δελτίο ειδήσεων των 9 της ΕΡΤ που σήμερα τραυματίστηκε.
We keep resisting. We participate. We keep fighting. Don't be a bystander. It happened to us. You may be next. ERT started its journey in 19...
Be assured they're going to continue our struggle until we achieve our rights. I would like to welcome and thank for the presence the MEPs who are present here, Mr. Glesos, Mr. Kantrougalos, Mr. Papadimoulis, Mr. Noti Marias, Mr. Chrysogonos, and Mr. Grammatikakis. They're very important. Your support is very important, and we thank you for that. Now, concerning the colleagues, the three speakers will take the floor, and I would like to ask the colleagues when they would like to ask questions and address the questions to the speakers, if they could mention their name and the medium that they represent. Thank you. First of all, I give the floor to Mrs. Sofia Sakorafa, who had the kindness to invite us here in Brussels. And we thank her very much for that. She invited us here in order to send this message, the message that we all want to send to the world concerning ERT. Mrs. Sakorafa, you have the floor. Allow me first of all to thank you all for being here today. I would like to thank the workers who made this long trip. They made this effort, and they left the lines of combat and they came here to inform us. I would like to thank my colleagues who were kind enough to be present here. I consider the presence here very important. And what I would like to say from the outset is that we tried, in the little time we had at our disposal, to inform you with the simplest way for what happened to our country recently. So you have a picture and reminding you what happened, not only through vision but also through sound. And I'm shocked. Even the sound of the signal of ERT, something I'm missing, and it makes me touch when I hear it. My invitation didn't concern only the employees who lost their jobs, but mainly concerned the following. This struggle that has begun a year ago should be supported with all our forces by everybody, and should be won above all. It's not a struggle concerning only people who have lost their job. This is what I stressed today in the Eurogroup of GUE in the speech I made when I took the floor. It's not related only with jobs, but mainly with democracy. It's related to democracy. Exactly that, because the main substance of ingredient of democracy is what represented by it concerns information, free information culture, with media, and how the media can express their point of view freely. That's what the workers who are here express. So we are not talking about neoliberalism. We are talking about democracy. We are talking about not allowing people to be informed. The loss of communication is abolition of the unique pole of defense of plurality of the word. And this is something that we have a very big deficit. All parties agree on that. We have a big deficit in my country. We have to act in order to protect what we have to guard, democracy. At the end of the small CD that you have received, something very important is mentioned, that if in democracy you don't participate, you're indifferent, this apathy is worse than tyranny. That's why we should be active, alive. We have to be next to the people, all citizens and politicians, citizens, next to the people who are fighting now. They're not fighting only for their jobs, they are fighting for democracy. I talked a lot, and I would like to give the floor to those who came here to inform us about the whole situation. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sakorafa, for your brief intervention. Mr. Gavril Kasimatis, Secretary General of Pospert and a member of the Administrative Board of Unimail, has the floor. Thank you, my dear colleagues, dear representatives of the media. First of all, I would like to thank, and I want to underline this important initiative of Mrs. Sakorafa. Thank you very much for that. It's an initiative that was reflected, it was echoed in the meeting of GUE this morning in the Parliament. I would like to thank the chairperson, who gave more time for the debate in the group, and we were able to express our positions and our points of view. I feel that the presence of all the MEPs, and not only the MEPs belonging to GUE, but also the presence of other Greek MEPs, shows exactly this, what we are stressing for 16 months to the Greek society. It's not something that concerns a specific party. It's a matter of freedom of expression, of democracy. It's a political issue, and this political issue is something that makes the parties position themselves. It's a part of democracy. This morning, in the meeting of the group, the parliamentary group of GUE, we had the opportunity to express our proposals, our points of view, our positions concerning the objectives and the directions of our efforts, this struggle. This is a national struggle. It covers the whole country. I will not mention what I said then. The video was very concise. It expressed everything. It showed the crime, the way that things happened, and the objectives that we have set as employees. I think that Eleftheria will have analyzed exactly the whole effort. Thank you very much. I will be at your disposal for any questions. Thank you, Mr. Kasimatis. Mrs. Eleftheria Faradaki, employer of Free ERT 3 and a member of the administrative board of Postbirth, and she's fighting for information. I would like to thank you in my turn. I would like to thank Mrs. Sakorafa for her initiative to invite us here to come to the European Parliament. And I would like to thank all of you who are here present at this moment. Dear members of the European Parliament, friends, already 16 months have passed from the day of the blackout on the public radio and television in my country, where democracy was born in Greece. And the Greek people do not have the right to be informed. They lost culture, they lost entertainment from the public agency, the public company of television, ERT. This was something without a precedent, is a criminal act, and it's a black point for the Greek civilization, the European civilization. On the 11th of June of 2013, in a coup d'etat, the government closed ERT and fired all the employees. The people of ERT reacted immediately. They stayed in the buildings and they continued the emissions of the programs normally, following a self-management system. Thousands of citizens, they created a human chain outside the buildings. We had thousands of messages of support from every corner of the country and from abroad. The government gave instruction to the police units to close and demolish the emitters and try to create another company that was controlled fully of the government, an interim formation that has been isolated already by Greek society. Furthermore, the government did not submit for approval the legal act based on which ERT was abolished, and it did not respect democracy. So according to the Greek constitution, the President of the Republic can, after a proposal of the Ministerial Council, to make a legal act in order to address an emergency, when there is a big need, such as earthquakes and floods. And these acts, in 40 days from the publication, have to go through Parliament. We are from 40 days of the meeting of the Parliament. If these dates are not kept, then this act is not valid anymore. And while this legal act was cancelled because it was not debated, never debated in the Parliament, but the decision for closing ERT remains and it still holds. In a few months of its functioning, NERIT, the new government company for radio and television, the BBC promised by the minister, has more people leaving, and people make more accusations, and more people are leaving in these few months than left ERT in 10 years. Very low is the program that it's producing. It only produces reruns of ERT. And also they cut the speech of the leader of the opposition in Thessaloniki. So NERIT is something that nobody values, and the procedures followed in NERIT are they're not transparent. So the Greek media were silent, but the European international media supported us in an impressive way. During the 16 months, very many personalities and representatives of the international media expressed their support. The foreign media covered the news. They held interviews projected in many European medias. And that's why we have a whole rain of messages of support from our European colleagues, and not only European colleagues. After the intervention of the police in the building of the ERT in Athens, in Agia Paraskevi, now we have the regional channel that emits in Thessaloniki, 19 regional radio stations of ERT, and this effort has been supported warmly from million citizens in Greece and abroad, upgrading the struggle, and it's a general claim for democracy and freedom. So ERT is a center of struggle from all those people who are suffering from the barbarous policy of the memoranda, from people who guard schools, by cleaners, by teachers, by doctors, all those people who are supporting the various national goods. ERT3 is the only one that was emitting from Thessaloniki, outside Athens, from the region, was the station whose program was covering the problems of the people of the rural areas, of the farmers, of tradition, of people with handicaps, of minorities, the Balkans, of Europe, of culture. We had informative programs, various documentaries that we emitted. Now, this program we continue to produce professionally, and we with a sense of responsibility vis-à-vis the Greek citizens, but also vis-à-vis the history of this big radio and television company of our country, in cooperation with colleagues in Athens through ERT Open and people working in the regional radio stations belonging to ERT, while graduates of the university who have studied mass media and of the School of Cinema are participating and supporting our program. A production of the cinema and people who make documentaries, they give their production rights to allow us to emit the programs in solidarity. During 16 months we created a cinema club with with new projections for Thessaloniki, with the support with the Center for Studies for the Cinema. And all this we are doing for free, gratis, for one objective, one vision, the creation of a free radio and television, a medium for information which will be a model not only in Greece but Europe. We have a vision for a two-way television and radio with listeners and viewers who are citizens, who are thinking and are active, with a society that helps. It's not only a simple receiver. We defend the reopening of ERT. We do not accept another form of a company, especially when the creation, the structure and the operation of this creation is not studied, is not transparent, and there is no meritocracy. In spite of the big words worded by the government, the way ERT is working up to now shows that the government TV is a very weak radio and TV controlled by the government that will protect private interests and an influenced interest. Is a radio and television that is not recognized by EBU either. Officially, Greece does not have an official radio and television company. However, the Greek people has to pay for this new creation. The government tried to make ET3 as a simple office. And they do not cover the functioning of regional radio. This is an offense for our country. The history of our country, the civilization of our country is an offense for the citizens of the region and of the expats in the world. So we do not want to protect our jobs in the past nor now. Major issue is to have a legal system back. We need qualitative information, qualitative entertainment and culture. And we have to repeal a decision that was not democratic and hit not only us but the whole of Greek society. The employees of ERT understand that our struggle has a wider dimension now, and it concerns the request of the Greeks for a society of citizens and not of numbers. The Greek society demands from us to be able to face the problems. We are professionals. We manage the program of the public television of the country, and this is imposed by the Greek constitution. That's what we have to do. Be responsible. We ask the reopening of ERT, who is the only authentic, real radio and television company of our country. And also, the dismissals have to be cancelled. We want a free ERT, independent ERT, serving the Greek people. As employees, we say that in the new period of functioning of ERT, we are going to incorporate what we achieved through our self-governed period for the benefit of the freedom of the press, for the information of society and for democracy. We remain in the buildings of ERT in Thessaloniki and in the region. We are guarding these buildings and we think these are a fortune, assets of the Greek people. We continue through the internet our emissions on ertopen.com. And we have analog and digital programs wherever we can. We do that. We continue our struggle, our work. We continue to believe in democracy. We continue to serve our constitution and human values. We will continue to serve the freedom of expression and of speech until we win. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Mrs. Farandaki. It will be an omission not to mention the presence of Mrs. Kuneva, who is present here. We thank her very much. During lunchtime and now, she is present in order to listen what we want to say about ERT. It will be an omission not to give the floor for 1 minute to my colleague, Eli Katsama, who represents the Panhellenic Editors Association, and she is a journalist in Era of Heraklion. Mrs. Nelly Katsamba has the floor for 1 minute. Obviously, 1 minute does not make justice to me and my colleagues of the 19 regional stations from which ERT Open is emitting, and in this way keeps, if you like, the pulse of life, it emits the pulse of life in the regional against the blackout that was imposed by the coalition government in Greece. For us, the issues of democracy are not undermined. They cannot be assessed for giving a prize. What the journalists continue to work in the whole of the Greek regions and in Athens are trying to do is by using the frequencies of the Greek radio and television. What we're trying is to give a reply in the deviation of from Article 44 of the Constitution for equal treatment of citizens, a pluralistic information, a promotion of cultural values. That's what should be done. That's what we're trying to do today, 17 months later, and still the various acts of dismissal have not been published. Most of us, the accredited acts have not been published. Some of us were not yet fired, and some of us, according to Greek courts, have been fired illegally, sent away from our jobs illegally. From the Greek regions, we have the first judicial wins that are a reply towards a public sector that could not be even in our opposition in a court. Yesterday in Heraklion, we had the first appeal that was debated. It was the first victory of the workers in Heraklion working for ERT against a public sector who wants the public good of information to be a good for trade or a good for political use or for trying some form of a good that can be sold. They believe that they can control democracy, they can make democracy shrink, they can put an end to democracy, and finally it can be used for propaganda and not be used, not an ingredient of democracy. Thank you, Mrs. Katsameu. We go to the questions. I would like to ask the colleagues to take the floor. Who would like to take the floor? If you could mention your name and the medium you represent, please. Are there any questions? Do you want a clarification? You want to express a point of view, maybe? So we give the floor to our MEPs. Mr. Glezos first. Okay. Mr. Chrysogonos. The closing of ERT, as you underlined correctly, is above all a problem of democracy for our country, because it was Article 44 of the Constitution was obviously violated. It's not the first time that this happened. It's usual. Many times this has been done, a violation of Article 44 by the government with the assistance of the President of the Republic, because he issued legal acts without a condition of a need that could not be envisaged or foreseen, something that is mentioned in the Constitution. I would like to say that in the specific case, this happened so that the request of our creditors, of the Troika, and unfortunately two-thirds are European institutions, the Troika, the European Commission, European Bank. So the Troika demanded insistently human sacrifices in the public sector. We shouldn't forget that the sudden death of ERT was decided by the government, or either by the Prime Minister without informing other partners in the government, exactly in order to achieve an objective of some thousands of dismissals that was set by the Troika. And of course, every year, in every new inspection, the Troika sets additional worse objectives. We should know that from the beginning of the memorandum until today, from the public sector, more than a third of the workers have left, the ones that were there in 2009. So, they have left with natural quote-unquote ways. That means through pensions and not renewing the various fixed-term contracts. Now, the human sacrifices demanded by the creditors, they're not so important economically because they're dismissals of a few thousand from the public sector, while hundreds of thousands have left in the natural ways as described. Now, the dismissals demanded by the creditors have a symbolic meaning. They symbolize the submission of Greece to their neoliberal ideas for a smaller and better state, supposedly. That means they're serving political aims for their political listeners, audiences of the governments of other countries of the Eurozone. At some moment in time, Greece should say, stop here. No more. We have to resist further implementation of these neoliberal ideas that lead our economy to collapse and the destruction of our society. Thank you, Mr. Chrysogonos. 1 minute, please. We heard you earlier, please, most of you. Mr. Marias has the floor now. I have been trained recently to this 1 minute time at my disposal. First of all, I would like to welcome you here in Brussels to the European Parliament. As you know, there is full support of the independent Greeks and from myself to your struggle. I recall that when the procedures for closing ERT, we left from the Parliament after accusations were made, me and Dimitris and other MEPs. We participated, we were members of Parliament and not MEPs. We participated in the various demonstrations, and I'm the last who took the floor, and then the blackout was imposed. The screens went black. We have to fight together. We have to give the fight on the level of the European Parliament as well. It's obvious that the first thing that we have to do is not to go to this formation that has been created, to legalize it and support it. We have to support your struggle and our struggle, because it's our struggle at all levels, at the European Parliament level and in Greece. It's a common struggle. We are at your disposal for any new initiative. Congratulations to Sofia and to our colleagues from SYRIZA who took this initiative to host you here in this whole event. And we're going to give a common struggle here and in the regional media where we go. And I hope and I wish that we'll manage to win. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marias. Mr. Papadimoulis has the floor. I would like once again to thank you for your presence. I would like to congratulate Sofia Sakorafa for her initiative to invite you. You saw as well today in the Eurogroup of the left, beyond the impression and how impressed people were for your struggle, and you heard the support. But another step was done now for to make your struggle international struggle, and you have our support as a SYRIZA, a government with a main party, SYRIZA, if that's the decision of the Greek people, will cancel all the anti-democratic acts of this government and will reopen the public radio and television, ERT, and using all the workers that were thrown in the streets by the government. Thank you, Mr. Papadimoulis. Mr. Katrougalos, from now on, the action in our minds should be set to the future, not the past. What we won from the black screens in ERT was the experiment of self-management. It was not only an experiment showing that the employees could manage such a complicated company, such as a radio and television company, but it was an historical experiment of world dimensions, showing that a medium can be open to society. Tomorrow, the government of the left will use this experiment, and the new ERT will not be a state-owned company. It will be a public and a social company, following the experiment that you tried and you promoted, and you are congratulated for that. Thank you very much for your very brief speech, Mr. Katrougalos. Before we go to Mr. Lesos, Mrs. Kuneva maybe would like to take the floor. I'm not in the first line, but I am in the line of the presidency. I don't have many things to say. I was in Agea Paraskevi, the headquarters of ERT, and then I said that the closing of ERT was a crime. What I would like to add now is that it's a crime of duration, because none of the promises of the then governmental authority was not kept. NERIT, I don't know if it exists, or it will stop earlier. I'm with you on your side. I do not know really if I should be glad for your presence and your dynamism, or to be touched because you remind me old good days. I would like to say that the Socialist Party last year, at the same time, S&D, had taken a very dynamic decision against the closing of ERT, and will do whatever we can in order to follow a similar line in the future. I feel touched. Thank you very much, Mr. Grammatikakis. Mrs. Kuneva has the floor. Hello. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Mrs. Sakorafa and the people from ERT who came to inform us, and we had the opportunity to meet them. They're a very good example for everybody. These people, with their struggle, with their effort they're making. I would like to tell you what injuries I have suffered, me and my family, from the absence of ERT. I was an immigrant, I didn't know the whole story, but from ERT we could get informed for the subsidies that should be paid to us, the dates that we had to fulfill, our rights, the rights we had. From the moment that ERT was closed, we have no information. The dates have been shorter, they've gone up to 20 days, and many people, pensioners, living with various subsidies, they didn't have time to submit their papers, they didn't know about it, and they're facing great difficulty in their lives. The only thing I would like to say that ERT was a world channel, a world television, and all immigrants and all expats from Greece, when we were in our countries, abroad, we could follow the news, and we could follow what was happening in Greece when we were abroad. And this cannot happen anymore. There is no such possibility anymore. That's what I would like to say. And I would like to say that we are on your side. We support you with all our forces, and we'll try to support you and cover your needs. Thank you, Mrs. Kuneva. Mr. Glesos has the floor. Not Mr. Glesos, our colleague Glesos, please. I note the following points. First, Kuneva brought the cleaners to the European Parliament. Sakorafa brought the fired journalists. In the vast majority, they are women. We see two facts. Women are more than 2 out of 6 surpassed men. That's one fact. Second fact, women are the ones who have the large majority in these issues. So, next point. GUE, NGL, accepted up to now 2 categories of workers from Greece, and this means something. Third, the floor is given to those who are working, to the employees themselves. They can speak. That shows what is happening and what SYRIZA is trying to implement in practice. To have people in the government, to have the power and the speech and the expression of the will to go to the people who are working, to workers. Fourth point. SYRIZA does not promise to bring ERT again in power. We take the obligation that the administrative board of ERT will be elected by the workers themselves. It will not be appointed by us. This is another proof that we bring people to power. Fifth point, I would like to congratulate all of you, all the workers, for your struggle up to now, an example for other workers. Sixth point, And now you have to do something you haven't done. I have no proposal from you. What I have to tell the Parliament. I don't know if other colleagues received any of your proposal, but I would like you to promise that in order to play your part correctly, you have to tell us what we have to promote, what have to raise in the Parliament. And seventh point, we will, every month, we can talk to you every 2 months, every 3 months. We will have to inform you for the work we are doing in the European Parliament. We take this obligation. As a journalist, as a colleague, I take this obligation towards you. I have taken the obligation in many parts of Greece. I take this obligation in view of the fired Greek journalists, that I will inform you. You will be able to control what I'm doing, what is my work in the European Parliament. That's what I had to say. Nothing more to be added, but constructive and efficient, Mr. Iglesias, as always he was in his life, for those who know Greek history. And the colleagues for the other media from Belgium should see that we should realize that we have living history here present in the face of Mr. Iglesias. Is there any colleague who has a question? Otherwise, I would give the floor to Mrs. Sakorafa in order to close this press conference, because Mrs. Sakorafa is the person who invited us here in the European Parliament. I will be very brief because we have to go to the next meeting. Allow me first of all to thank all of you, all people present here in this press conference and who belong to foreign media. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank GUE NGL, who gave us the possibility so that the Greek workers, employees present their points of view and their positions in the group. We could hear the position of the group. I would like to thank the colleagues from SYRIZA present in the conference here. I would like to thank from the depths of my heart, from my bottom of my heart, Mr. Marias, who represents the independent Greeks, and Mr. Grammatikakis, who represents Potami, the river. I would like to thank all the workers of ERT who are present here and who recall us that the struggle has not ended. The struggle is continuous. And then with their flame and their fire, all together we're going to win. All together, united, we're going to win this struggle. We're going to win this fight. Nothing has finished. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you, Mrs. Sakorafa. It was an important experience. Indeed, we had the chance, the opportunity to create new data, new different data, new information. All these will be credited to the effort and in our struggle. What we have taken the obligation to do, and we promised, and we confirm once again, is the promise we gave on the 11th of June 2013, together with the Greek people and various bodies, that this effort will not stop if we do not gain our rightful rights, and the time is close. We are near a new dawn, and I think that our struggle will be won with your help and with your support. Thank you very much.
Το ευρώ το ξέχασα εχθές. Η φωτογραφία είναι όρος. Φωτογραφία και ευρώ.